The 1971 D. Kennedy half dollar is a United States 50-cent coin minted in Denver, Colorado, that holds a notable place in American numismatic history. It represents a major transition point in U.S. coinage, the first year the Kennedy half dollar was struck in copper-nickel-clad composition, ending the era of silver in circulating U.S. coinage. Prior to 1971, half dollars from 1965 through 1970 were made with a 40% silver core, but the rising cost of silver forced the U.S. Mint to change to a more economical alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. The 1971 D issue, bearing the D mint mark beneath Kennedy's bust on the obverse, was produced in massive quantities, over 302 million coins, to meet the nation's growing demand for coinage during the early 1970s. The obverse of the coin, designed by Gilroy Roberts, features a left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, whose tragic assassination in 1963 led to the half-dollar being created as a tribute to his memory. Above his head arches the word Liberty, while the motto, "In God We Trust," is split on either side of his neck. The date, 1971, is centered below the truncation of the neck, with a small D mint mark located just above the date, indicating that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. The reverse, designed by Frank Asparo, depicts the presidential seal, showing a heraldic eagle with a shield on its breast, grasping an olive branch of peace in its right talon, and 13 arrows of war in its left. Above the eagle's head is a ring of 13 stars and a glory of light rays, surrounded by the inscriptions, United States of America and half dollar. Though billions of Kennedy half dollars have been minted since 1964, the 1971 D issue stands out because it was the first clad version, marking a technological and economic shift for the U.S. Mint. In circulation, these coins exhibit a bright silvery color but lack the intrinsic silver value of their predecessors. Each coin weighs 11.34 grams, measures 30.6 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge. Because of its high mintage, the 1971 D half dollar is common in circulated condition and generally worth only face value, 50 cents in pocket change. However, uncirculated examples, especially those graded MS 65 or higher, can hold collector premiums, often valued from a few dollars to $20 or more depending on condition and luster. There are also rare varieties, such as coins mistakenly struck on leftover 40% silver planchets from 1970, which can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars when authenticated. The coin carries deep symbolic meaning beyond its metal composition. Its design encapsulates America's mourning and reverence for President Kennedy, representing ideals of hope, courage, and renewal after tragedy. The words, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" serve as enduring reminders of the nation's founding principles, while the strong, youthful portrait of Kennedy reflects optimism and forward vision during the Cold War era. Although the half-dollar gradually disappeared from daily commerce as Americans favored smaller coins and paper currency, the 1971 D. Kennedy half dollar remains a cherished keepsake, often handed down through generations or discovered in old coin rolls. For many, it is not merely a coin but a small metallic monument to the spirit of 1960s America, combining artistry, history, and sentiment in a single piece of U.S. currency. Next top. The 1972 United States half dollar, commonly known as the Kennedy half dollar, is one of the most recognized and historically meaningful coins in American numismatics. This coin carries deep symbolism, honoring the legacy of President John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, whose tragic assassination in 1963 shocked the world and left a lasting impact on American society. The idea for the coin emerged almost immediately after Kennedy's death, as a tribute approved by Congress and designed by Chief Engraver Gilroy Roberts, obverse, and Assistant Engraver Frank Asparo, reverse. The first Kennedy half dollar was minted in 1964, replacing the Benjamin Franklin design that had appeared from 1948 to 1963. By 1972, the coin had become a circulating symbol of respect, patriotism, and remembrance. On the obverse front, Of the 1972 half dollar, the coin displays a detailed left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, sculpted with sharp realism and graceful balance. Above his head appears the word liberty, representing one of the founding ideals of the United States. The motto, "In God We Trust," is divided into two parts, placed beneath Kennedy's chin and above his neckline, reaffirming the national sentiment of faith and unity. The date, 1972, appears centered along the lower rim, marking its year of minting. The coin's rim is raised, helping to protect the inner design from wear over time. Depending on where it was minted, it may carry a mint mark, D for Denver or S for San Francisco, though some coins minted in Philadelphia have no mint mark. The reverse side features an elegant and powerful design inspired by the presidential seal. A proud heraldic eagle stands at the center, its wings spread wide as a symbol of strength and freedom. In its right talon, the eagle clutches an olive branch, signifying the nation's desire for peace, while in its left talon, it holds a bundle of arrows, representing readiness to defend. The eagle's beak holds a ribbon with the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. Surrounding the eagle are 50 small stars, representing the 50 states of the Union, with the legend, United States of America, arching along the upper rim and half dollar along the lower. The level of detail in the feathers, stars, and lettering shows the high craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint's engraving department during that period. The 1972 Kennedy half dollar was struck in copper-nickel-clad composition, following the removal of silver content in circulation coins after 1970. It has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge. The outer layers are composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. Although some collectors prefer the earlier 1964 silver issues or the special 40% silver coins from 1965 to 1970, the 1972 issue remains a key example of the series' transition into modern minting materials. 3 U.S. mints participated in production that year: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The San Francisco Mint produced both proof coins, with mirror-like finishes intended for collectors, and some regular strikes. Combined, over 295 million coins were minted in 1972, making it one of the most common dates in the series, though high-grade specimens remain collectible. In terms of historical context, the 1972 issue came during a period of economic and social transition in the United States. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, and the nation was witnessing shifts in political attitudes and economic policy. During this time, the Kennedy half dollar continued to serve as a subtle reminder of national unity and the ideals Kennedy had symbolized: courage, progress, and hope. Though the coin was intended for circulation, many Americans kept it as a keepsake rather than spend it, out of respect for President Kennedy's memory. This habit greatly reduced the number of half dollars actively used in commerce, which is one reason the denomination gradually became uncommon in daily transactions by the mid-1970s. From a collector's perspective, the 1972 half dollar holds interest for several reasons. While it is not a rare coin in general circulation, certain varieties and errors can be valuable. For example, some coins exhibit double die obverse or striking errors where parts of the design are misaligned or duplicated. Proof versions with deep cameo contrast are especially prized by numismatists. The condition, luster, and strike quality all affect the coin's value. Uncirculated, mint state examples with sharp details can fetch higher prices than worn pieces. Even though the intrinsic metal value is low, the sentimental and historical value of the coin remains high among collectors and historians alike. The phrase, "In God We Trust," prominently displayed on the obverse, holds particular cultural and spiritual significance. It first appeared on U.S. coins during the Civil War era and was later adopted as the national motto. Its inclusion on the Kennedy half dollar reflects the enduring belief in divine guidance for the nation. Likewise, the word liberty speaks to America's founding principles of freedom and self-governance, values Kennedy himself championed in his famous speeches. The combination of these inscriptions with Kennedy's dignified portrait creates a coin design that feels both modern and timeless, a balance of artistry and meaning that few coin series achieve. Overall, the 1972 United States Kennedy half-dollar stands not merely as a piece of currency, but as a small, enduring monument to American history, art, and identity. Every detail, from the eagle's wings to the inscription "In God We Trust," was chosen with purpose, conveying ideals that transcend the medal itself. For collectors and patriots alike, it remains a symbol of remembrance for a president whose legacy still inspires and of a nation that continues to value liberty, unity, and trust under God. Whether kept in a display case or found in loose change, the 1972 half-dollar continues to tell a story, one of hope, loss, and enduring national pride. The 1980 D. Kennedy half-dollar is a distinguished 50-cent coin from the United States Mint, struck at the Denver Mint and marked with the D mint mark just below President Kennedy's bust on the obverse. This coin represents nearly 2 decades of tribute to President John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1963 and whose legacy continues to be honored through this enduring design. The Kennedy half-dollar series, first introduced in 1964, replaced the Franklin half-dollar and was intended to serve both as circulating currency and a lasting memorial to one of America's most beloved presidents. By 1980, the series had transitioned fully into copper-nickel-clad coinage, which began in 1971 when silver was permanently removed from the nation's circulating coins. The 1980 D half-dollar therefore belongs to the modern clad era, composed of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core, giving it a total weight of 11.34 grams and a diameter of 30.6 millimeters. Its bright silvery color is often mistaken for silver, though the coin's value lies primarily in its historical and collectible significance rather than its metal content. The obverse of a 1980 D half-dollar continues the classic portrait designed by Gilroy Roberts, the 9th chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. It shows a left-facing profile of John F. Kennedy, exuding confidence, leadership, and vitality, qualities that the American public associated with the late president. The inscriptions around the portrait read "Liberty" above and "In God We Trust" below, separated by Kennedy's neck truncation. The date, 1980, appears beneath the profile, with a mint mark D located just above the date, signifying its production at the Denver facility. The reverse, created by Frank Asparo, the Mint's 12th chief engraver, depicts the presidential seal, a powerful heraldic image featuring a bald eagle with outstretched wings, clutching an olive branch of peace in its right talon, and a bundle of 13 arrows in its left, symbolizing the balance between peace and defense. The eagle's beak holds a ribbon inscribed with the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, and above its head is a ring of 13 stars representing the original colonies, surrounded by rays of light. Around the rim are the inscriptions, United States of America and half-dollar, forming a majestic frame that emphasizes national unity and strength. The 1980 D. Kennedy half-dollar was produced in large numbers, approximately 33,456,449 coins, and was intended primarily for circulation rather than for collectors. During this period, however, the half-dollar was already declining in everyday use. Because vending machines and cash registers were not designed to handle 50-cent pieces, many Americans stopped using them in daily transactions, causing the coins to pile up in Federal Reserve vaults. As a result, even though millions were struck, the 1980 D half-dollar is often found in uncirculated condition today, preserved in rolls, bags, or mint sets. In circulated condition, these coins are typically worth face value, 50 cents, but uncirculated or mint-state examples can command a modest premium depending on condition. Coins graded MS 65 or higher by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC are often valued at $5 to $15, while especially well-struck examples with strong luster can reach higher prices among specialized Kennedy collectors. From a historical perspective, the 1980 D half-dollar represents both continuity and change in American coinage. It retains the dignified design that originated as a heartfelt memorial in 1964, yet it also reflects the country's shift to practical, non-silver coinage that could withstand heavy use in circulation. The inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" embody timeless national ideals, faith, freedom, and resilience, while Kennedy's portrait evokes the optimism of the early 1960s, an era of hope and progress symbolized by his presidency. For collectors and historians, the 1980 D-half dollar is more than just a piece of currency. It is a metallic emblem of America's evolving story, bridging the post-war optimism of Kennedy's new frontier with the pragmatic economic realities of the late 20th century. Its enduring design, brilliant appearance, and connection to a transformative figure in U.S. history ensure that it remains a cherished artifact among coin enthusiasts. Whether tucked away in an old coin jar or displayed proudly in a collection, the 1980 D. Kennedy half dollar continues to shine as a symbol of leadership, memory, and national pride, a small yet meaningful reminder of how history, art, and identity are permanently etched into the fabric of American money. Next top. The 1983 The United States half dollar is part of the long-running Kennedy half dollar series, which was first issued in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy following his assassination in November 1963. The coin was produced by the Denver Mint, as indicated by the small D mint mark located on the obverse side front, just below Kennedy's neck and above the date, 1983. The obverse design, created by Gilroy Roberts, features a left-facing portrait of President Kennedy, inscribed with the word "Liberty" arching above his head, the national motto, "In God We Trust," positioned in two parts, "In God" on the left and "We Trust" on the right, and the year of mintage, 1983, beneath the neckline. The reverse design, by Frank Gasparo, displays the presidential seal, an adaptation of the Great Seal of the United States, featuring a heraldic eagle with a shield on its chest. The eagle holds an olive branch in its right talon, symbolizing peace, and a bundle of 13 arrows in its left, representing readiness to defend the nation. Above the eagle's head is a ring of stars, 13 to represent the original colonies, and around the rim are the inscriptions, "United States of America" and "half dollar." The 1983 D. Kennedy half dollar is composed of a copper-nickel-clad alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper core, and weighs 11.34 grams with a diameter of 30.6 millimeters and a reeded edge. Unlike earlier issues from 1964, which contained 90% silver, or the special 40% silver versions produced for collectors from 1965 to 1970, this 1983 issue was made entirely for circulation with base metals, as the U.S. Mint had long discontinued the use of silver in regular coinage due to rising metal costs. Because 1983 was not a year when half dollars were included in most everyday circulation, they were rarely seen in general commerce. Many of these coins were distributed through Federal Reserve banks but often sat in storage or were used for casino and vending machine purposes. The Denver Mint struck 32,472,244 examples that year, a moderately high mintage compared to other dates in the series. In terms of condition and value, the 1983 D half dollar is typically common in circulated grades and can usually be found for its face value of 50 cents if worn. However, coins that remain in mint state condition, MS65 or higher, with strong luster, sharp details, and few contact marks, become more appealing to collectors. Well-preserved examples, especially those with vibrant luster and full strike, can bring prices ranging from $5 to $25, and in exceptional grades such as MS67 or MS68, they can reach values over $100 to $200, depending on the coin market and certification. Coins with full details or strong strike on Kennedy's hairlines, sometimes referred to by collectors as full strike or full hair examples, are especially desirable. The phrase "In God We Trust" holds special importance on this and all U.S. coins. It first appeared on American coinage during the Civil War era, 1864, as an expression of national faith, later mandated by Congress to appear on all U.S. currency. On the Kennedy half dollar, The motto is split on either side of Kennedy's neck, symbolizing both spiritual and national strength. The word liberty, which crowns the obverse, represents the foundational principle of the United States, freedom, while Kennedy's portrait stands as a modern embodiment of leadership and hope during a turbulent time in American history. From a numismatic perspective, 1983 half dollars are notable because the U.S. Mint did not issue official mint sets or proof sets for circulation that year. This means that all surviving high-grade examples came from coins struck for circulation, not special collector packaging. As a result, uncirculated rolls or mint-state specimens are relatively harder to find compared to other years, giving the 1983 D issue a small premium among Kennedy half enthusiasts. Some coins display minting errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or doubling on the lettering or date. These can significantly increase a coin's collector value depending on rarity and visibility. Physically, the 1983 D Kennedy half dollar carries the same standard dimensions established for the denomination since 1971, when silver was fully eliminated from general issue. Its layered metal composition gives it a distinctive silvery color with a copper edge visible when viewed from the side. Over time, circulated examples often acquire wear on Kennedy's cheekbone, hair, and the high points of the eagle's wings, which numismatists use to grade condition. A fully lustrous and sharply struck coin with no wear is designated as mint state, whereas pieces that saw daily handling are graded lower from about uncirculated AU to good G, depending on the extent of wear. Culturally, the Kennedy half dollar continues to hold a special place in American memory, though seldom used in daily transactions. Next top. The 1990p United States half dollar, officially known as the 1990 Kennedy half dollar, is a 50-cent coin struck by the Philadelphia Mint, identifiable by the P mint mark located on the obverse front side, just below Kennedy's neckline near the truncation of the bust. This coin continues the long-running Kennedy half dollar series, which began in 1964 as a memorial to President John F. Kennedy following his tragic assassination in November 1963. The obverse was designed by Gilroy Roberts, who was the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, while the reverse design was created by Frank Gasparo, featuring the presidential seal, an eagle clutching an olive branch and arrows, surrounded by 50 stars representing the states. The inscriptions on the obverse include Liberty arched around the top, In God We Trust split horizontally across the midsection, and the year 1990 at the bottom. The reverse bears United States of America and half dollar along with a detailed heraldic eagle motif that symbolizes national unity, defense, and peace. By 1990, the Kennedy half dollar had already become more of a collector's coin than a circulating one. Though production continued annually, everyday use of half dollars had sharply declined since the 1970s, largely due to changes in consumer habits and the disappearance of large denomination coins from circulation. The 1990p half dollar was struck in copper-nickel clad composition, consisting of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core, resulting in a total weight of 11.34 grams, 0.4 ounces, and a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, with a reeded edge. This composition replaced the earlier 90% silver alloy used in 1964 and the 40% silver alloy used between 1965 and 1970. The coin's metallic luster and silvery appearance come from the nickel outer layers, though these coins contain no silver content after 1970 unless struck as special collector editions, proofs, or commemoratives. The Philadelphia Mint produced a total of approximately 48,816,000 pieces of the 1990p Kennedy half dollar, a significant mintage that makes it a relatively common coin in uncirculated condition. Coins from circulation typically show wear on Kennedy's hairlines, cheek, and jaw, while uncirculated examples retain a strong mint luster and sharp strike. Proof versions were also struck at the San Francisco Mint, identified by an S mint mark, intended specifically for collectors and usually sold in annual proof sets. The P mint mark was reintroduced on circulating coins in 1980, previously omitted before that date, making it an important identifying feature for coins from the 1990s onward. While the 1990p half dollar holds little intrinsic metal value beyond its face value, since it is a copper-nickel coin, its numismatic value can vary based on condition, rarity of die varieties, and grading. Circulated examples typically trade for 50 cents to $1, while uncirculated specimens, MS-60, MS-65, are often valued between $1 and $5, and high-grade examples, MS-67 and above, can command significantly higher premiums, sometimes up to $50 to $150 depending on appeal and certification. Grading services like PCGS and NGC use the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1 to 70, to assign grades. Coins with deep, brilliant luster and no visible marks are considered gem uncirculated, MS-65 or higher. Errors and die varieties, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or missing mint marks, can also increase collector interest and market value. In terms of symbolism, the 1990 Kennedy half dollar carries enduring historical and emotional significance. It represents not only the legacy of John F. Kennedy, America's 35th president, but also the national spirit of the 1960s, when the design first debuted as an emblem of hope and unity after tragedy. The obverse portrait captures Kennedy's dignified and forward-looking profile, while the reverse's presidential seal echoes themes of authority and patriotism. The inscription, "In God We Trust," appearing prominently to Kennedy's left, underscores the coin's reflection of national ideals and continuity across decades of U.S. coinage. Although the denomination has faded from daily use, the Kennedy half dollar remains one of the longest-running coin designs in modern U.S. history, cherished among collectors for its aesthetic appeal, historical depth, and connection to a pivotal figure in American memory. The 1990p Kennedy half dollar stands today as a symbol of America's numismatic evolution, a link between mid-20th century silver coinage and modern clad coinage, bridging the gap between circulating money and collectible art. Its enduring production demonstrates the U.S. Mint's commitment to tradition, even as the coin's everyday function has diminished. Whether found in pocket change, rolls from the bank, or preserved in mint sets, each 1990p half dollar carries with it a piece of the nation's story, a reminder of leadership, legacy, and the next hop. The 2023p half dollar, officially known as the Kennedy half dollar, continues one of the most iconic coin series in American history. First introduced in 1964, shortly after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the coin was created as a national tribute to honor the 35th President of the United States. The P. Mint mark identifies that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most significant U.S. mint facilities. The Kennedy half dollar has been a symbol not just of American currency, but also of remembrance, unity, and national pride. The obverse front of the coin features the famous portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint in the early 1960s. Roberts based his design on a bust he had previously sculpted for Kennedy's presidential medal, giving the coin a lifelike and dignified appearance. Across the upper rim is the bold word Liberty, symbolizing one of the founding principles of the United States. Beneath Kennedy's chin appears the phrase, "In God We Trust," a national motto reaffirming America's religious and moral heritage, which was formally adopted for all U.S. coinage in 1956. Just below the neck truncation is the date 2023, indicating the year of minting, and the letter P signifying the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse back design, created by Frank Asparo, another master engraver of the U.S. Mint, features a detailed rendering of the presidential seal. At the center is a proud heraldic eagle with a shield on its chest, clutching an olive branch in its right talon, and a bundle of arrows in its left. The olive branch represents the nation's desire for peace, while the arrows signify readiness for defense, a balance between diplomacy and strength. In the eagle's beak is a ribbon bearing the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one. This phrase highlights the unity of the diverse American states and people. Surrounding the eagle are 50 stars, representing the 50 states of the Union, and encircling the entire design are the words, United States of America and the denomination, half dollar. Together, these inscriptions express both national pride and the coin's monetary identity. The composition of the 2023 p half-dollar continues the modern clad standard adopted since 1971. It consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, resulting in a total composition of approximately 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. This copper-nickel alloy gives the coin its familiar silvery appearance while providing durability for circulation. The coin weighs about 11.34 grams, measures 30.6 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge, a series of fine grooves that serve both aesthetic and anti-counterfeiting purposes. Earlier Kennedy half-dollars from 1964 were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, while those from 1965 to 1970 contained 40% silver. Today's versions, including the 2023 issue, are primarily intended for collectors, as half-dollars rarely circulate in everyday commerce. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the P Mint mark, is known for its exceptional quality control and craftsmanship. Millions of Kennedy half-dollars are struck each year, though actual circulation use has declined sharply since the 1980s. The 2023 P issue was produced both for collector sets, such as the U.S. Mint uncirculated coin set, and for numismatists who order directly from the mint. Each coin is struck using high-tonnage presses that ensure fine details in Kennedy's hair, the eagle's feathers, and the lettering. Collectors value sharp strikes, clean fields, and lack of contact marks when grading the coin's condition. Coins graded MS 65 or higher by professional services such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, are considered superior quality and often command premium prices. The phrase, "In God We Trust," on the 2023 p half-dollar is one of the most recognizable and historically rich inscriptions in U.S. coinage. Its origins date back to the Civil War era, first appearing on the 2-cent coin in 1864, as Americans sought reassurance of divine guidance during national turmoil. On the Kennedy half-dollar, this motto takes on additional poignancy, reflecting both the moral character of the nation and the personal faith often associated with President Kennedy's legacy. Combined with the word liberty, the motto expresses the enduring values of freedom and faith that continue to shape American identity. The Kennedy half-dollar's enduring popularity also stems from its deep emotional connection to one of America's most admired leaders. The coin was first proposed within hours of Kennedy's assassination on November 22, 1963, with approval from his widow, Jacqueline Kennedy, who preferred the half-dollar denomination to avoid replacing Washington on the quarter. Within months, the coin was designed, approved, and struck, making it one of the fastest